In those first few weeks and even months after the birth of our babies, we can feel like our hormones are all over the place. It is quite the hormonal roller coaster. And it's interesting because this is considered one of the biggest, most significant hormonal changes we ever go through, especially in such a short period of time. And yet no one prepares us for it. No one sits us down and tells you this is what's going to happen and this is how to support yourself. So I really want to have this conversation with you today to help you understand what's happening from the moment your baby is born right through to that first year after, and give you some really effective ways that you can support not only your hormones but also your overall health during that time. I'm Michaela Teresi. I'm a naturopath and nutritionist. I specialize in postpartum health, and I love sharing all things postpartum recovery and helping mums with their health through early motherhood. And a big part of that is hormones. It really is such an important aspect of our health, and so understanding what's going on is going to really help us with that. So let's have a look at how these hormonal changes happen. So starting in pregnancy, our progesterone and estrogen steadily rise. And then in the weeks and days leading up to childbirth, our progesterone peaks at 30 times pre-pregnancy levels. Our estrogen will reach 1,000 times pre-pregnancy levels. That's a lot, right? And then straight after we deliver our baby and the placenta, those levels drop. They plummet to pre-pregnancy levels. And this withdrawal of hormones has a big impact on us mentally and emotionally. And this is why many mums will experience those baby blues in those first few days after delivery. Now, at the same time as those hormones dropping, we have two other hormones that are rising, and that's oxytocin and prolactin. So oxytocin is our love hormone. It helps us bond with our baby. It brings a sense of calm, and as it floods the body after childbirth, this is why many mums will experience that euphoria and that really zen, calm feeling. Prolactin is our breastfeeding hormone, so it not only is responsible for helping with that, but it also has anti-stress and anti-anxiety effects as well. So these two, as they rise, help to buffer the effects that the low progesterone and estrogen are having. Now, some mums won't experience that initial dramatic oxytocin flooding through their body, bringing that really euphoric, high, calming feeling, and that's because there are a few things that will affect oxytocin release. So if there's been any birth trauma, if you were separated from your bub, or if there was a lot of birth interventions, these can all impact the initial release of oxytocin. So I've been there. I know it can feel like you've missed out if you didn't get that oxytocin flooding through you from the moment you gave birth, but it does still rise. So lots of skin-to-skin contact, cuddling baby, and breastfeeding if you can, and that will help to continue to boost that oxytocin, and you'll get that buffering effect still. So by 2 to 3 months, they should start balancing out. However, we are dealing with a lot of extra stresses during that postpartum stage. So sleep deprivation, life adjustments, recovery, all those things that come with having a newborn can be stressful to the body. And this means we can end up with high cortisol levels, and it affects our rebalancing of hormones as well. On top of that, nutrient deficiencies are quite common in the postpartum stage because we've been depleted during pregnancy, and these really key nutrients can play a big role in our hormones rebalancing, and so a lot of mums can end up feeling fatigue, mood disorders, so really low mood, anxiety, and just feeling like they're not coping as well. Because things like sleep deprivation and just some demands of early motherhood do continue on through that first couple of years, this can lead to hormone fluctuations, and why you can still feel like your hormones are a little bit out of whack even though your baby is 12 months or older. So this is why it's really important for us to prioritize our hormone health as much as possible, as soon after postpartum as possible. The first thing that's going to be really important is your nutrition, what you're eating. So we want to be focusing on plenty of protein and healthy fats. These are the building blocks of hormones, really important for hormone health. Focusing on a lot of unprocessed foods, low inflammatory foods, so that we can make sure that we're not putting any extra burden onto our hormone systems. And then also balancing out our blood sugar levels with 3 steady meals a day, or snacks in between if that feels good for you. But making sure that we prioritize those regular healthy meals is really essential. You also want to include some carbohydrates with a nice dose of fiber in there. That's really important for hormone health, and also to keep us energized and nourish that gut health as well. I do have a nutrition video that goes into more specifics if you'd like to learn a little bit more about my recommendations with nutrition. And then the second thing is stress management. And this is probably one of the hardest things for mums because they just feel like they do not have enough time for themselves. And so what I would recommend, and what I do recommend to my clients, is that you need to just set out 5-minute chunks or 15-minute chunks, something that's very doable, but you can do consistently. So a 5-minute meditation or a 10-minute stretch, something that is intentional relaxation that will switch on the relaxation response. Because when we are constantly running in fight or flight mode, running on adrenaline, it is really damaging to our hormone health. So the third thing is prioritizing sleep. And I know that this can feel so hard to do. If you've got multiple night wakings or you struggle sleeping when the baby sleeps, it can be like, how on earth am I even meant to prioritize sleep? And so what I've found is the easiest way is to move your bedtime earlier. And I know that can feel like, oh, that's the only time I have to myself, but this is the season to really focus on your sleep. This is when our body recovers and regenerates, and this is so integral for all aspects of our health, not just our hormone health, our immune system, our mental health. So we do really need to prioritize deep support for our sleep and just look at it as it's just a season. It's not going to be forever. Just work on moving that bedtime a bit earlier and start paying off that sleep debt. That is going to go a long way in your hormonal recovery. And then the last thing I'm going to recommend is some low impact exercise. I love low impact exercise for mums. I think during this time when you feel like your body is already under a bit of stress, the last thing you really want to do is go and do some really intense exercise. Unless that feels good for you. You've got to listen to your body. But for the most part, I think a lot of mums avoid exercise because they're too exhausted, when really it is most beneficial for you if you can go for a walk. I love getting my kids in the pram, I put a podcast on and go walking. You get the vitamin D, you get some movement, and I love listening to podcasts personally. You might like to put music on, but it just makes you feel like you've done something for yourself as well. And things like walking, yoga, Pilates, it's very anti-inflammatory on the body. It helps with that stress levels, stress response system, as well as regulating the hormones. It's really good for our hormone health. So that's something to consider. So I hope this has helped to give you a bit more of an understanding of what is going on with our hormones during that postpartum stage and the time that follows. And I also hope that you find these tips really helpful. They are really simple, but they are so effective at really helping to support the whole foundation of our hormone health. As always, I love hearing from you. If you'd like to leave me a comment or you can send me a message, I am always happy to hear from you and know what you'd like to see more of. If you want more tips, recipes, and resources, you can visit my website, kuluco.com. I've got more over there. Thank you so much for watching.